Alright 5-9 crew, and welcome back to another video. Now today we're actually going to dive back into a topic that we've covered before here on 5-9. It was a little while back, myself and Lethal, we discussed movies and games basically, and we were talking about what's come in the past and how it's not really lived up to fans' expectations when talking about games becoming movies. What me, myself and Lethal, who's with me today, are going to dive into is the future and what we could be looking at from some of these projects, games that are being turned into movies. Lethal, are you looking forward to discuss this, my man?
Oh my god, yes, dude. Video game movie adaptations is always like one of those like interesting ones because, you know, like anybody who's a big fan of like maybe like a book or something, and then that book gets turned into a movie, you're always like just curious to see if they're going to be super close to the material, like the source material kind of, or they're going to kind of deviate it. And sometimes they do, like, you know, they stray a little bit away from the original story, and it's not always a bad thing. And there's sometimes they do it and you're just like, oh damn. You're just like, oh crap, I don't know how I feel about this. But no, I'm excited. This is a good topic.
Well, one of the first things we're going to talk about is something that a lot of people confusingly think is a game adaptation that's been turned into a TV show, and it is The Witcher. Now, to people in the know, they'll probably say, wait a minute, The Witcher's based on the books, right? But the books and the games are pretty much the same thing, you know what I mean? It's the stories, and when you watch the show, The Witcher, if you played the games, you're like, oh, this feels like the game to me. So it's shown that you can take that source material, work with it, and do really well. Now, did you watch The Witcher at all, Lethal? Tell me yes.
So yeah, I did watch The Witcher. I will say that I never read the books. I know, you know, like for the people that are going to go ahead and try to give it the comparison to books, I never read the book. Sorry. I played like 2 of the games. But no, I watched the show and I absolutely love this show. Yep. I mean, without getting into it just yet, but I'm going to say right now, dude, this show is so good. Very good.
And they capture some of the scenes from the game, like the bathtub scene and stuff like that. So it does feel like it's based on the game, and they clearly took some visual cues from the game and stuff like that. So obviously this kind of shows success, and we'll go back to why we've brought The Witcher up a little bit later in this video. But first of all, I want to talk about some of these movie projects that are in the pipeline, and one of the things that's upcoming, first of all, and it's coming from Sony, and that would be Uncharted. Now, Uncharted's obviously a massive game. It's loved by fans worldwide, you know. And Sony have hit up, let's just say, a very hot property at the moment in Tom Holland. Tom Holland's obviously blown up because of the Spider-Man movies, and he's obviously got a bit of a relationship with Sony. What do you think of this casting? What do you think about taking Nathan Drake, back to when he's a younger character and capturing that whole young Indiana Jones vibe? What's your thoughts about the Uncharted movie?
So for me, I'm cool with it, right? Because you know, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong here, but I think they're setting up to do like a bunch more movies, right? So they want to go for a whole origin and you know, work his way up to how we kind of got him from like the first Uncharted game and whatnot. I think it's a smart move. I think it's cool. I'm all for it. And like you said, you know, a lot of us know Tom Holland as Spider-Man, so we know his performance in that role. So for me, it's like cool. Like he's already used to doing the whole superhero kind of get up, you know, that kind of character. So for him to tackle on this, I think he'll do great, dude. And just from the image that we have here and some of the other footage that you'll see, he looks good. I don't know. I dig it. I'm for it. I'm for the young Nathan Drake, and to probably get to the point where you're comfortable with him as. So dude, I'm all for it. And even the costume, like they didn't really try to alter that costume right there. Like they nailed it, you know. I want to say this from, I know a lot of people say it's a mixture of Uncharted 1 and Uncharted 2. So dude, I'm so for it. If they got the costume on point, it looks like even the set and the props look to be on point. Like everything about it, even the ring, dude. I'm excited. I think they're gonna nail this one. And Tom Holland's a great actor, so I'm all for it.
Well, one of the reasons I think this might be a bit more successful, and I think this will become a recurring theme when we're going throughout this video, is they have source material to pull from. One of the things that we touched on before when we were talking about past movies, a lot of the failures come from the fact that they'll take a game like Super Mario Brothers. Like when Super Mario Bros. Was made into a movie, there wasn't much lore to pull from, there wasn't much story. At that point, there was Mario Brothers 1, you were a plumber, you smashed bricks, and they tried to build a story off of that, and there was nothing really there. And there's kind of been a historical failure to capitalise on games with good stories. And I think the belief was, if the game has a good story, it doesn't need to be made into a movie because the game's already good enough. But I think what they're doing now, if you look at some of these things we're going to talk about, is they're capturing properties that, people will probably play them and say, wow, that was a fantastic story. And they're going, well, you know what? Maybe that's the better type of thing to make into a movie rather than something like Street Fighter, which was obviously a disaster. And it doesn't really have much story to pull from. So moving on from a bit of a spoiler there for what we're about to talk about next. I did just a little bit. I did just a little bit. We're going to talk about something that I think, before we can talk about the future, we need to talk about the past, and that's Resident Evil. Now, what do you think of the old Resident Evil movies? I'm laughing saying it because
I know. I'm cheesing, Hayzink. Okay, so I guess my take, right? I think the first one, I was all for it. I mean, let's be real. When I played the Resident Evil games, I was kind of young when the first couple ones came out, and I'm trying to think. By the time that first movie came out, I don't think I was that big into Resident Evil just yet. So for me, it was like, I didn't mind it. It was a cool. I kind of knew the brand, right? I knew what the IP was. So a movie version of it, to me, the first one was like cool. I think I got older, I got to know some of the characters, and I was a little confused. I was like, who is Alice? Who are?
Wait a minute. Who are you?
Who is this character? Like, whereas they got they got some of the enemies right. The guys, I forget their names, but the guys with the big tongues. Like they did good. They did good with bringing back not just the zombies, but some of those well-known enemies into the first couple movies. But I think it was one of those projects where you were surprised to see them make another one and then make another one and then make another one, and you're just like, what? They're taking the IP of Resident Evil and they're just making it their own by trying to bring in little cameos of characters that you wanted to see probably from the very beginning. So I don't think it was an overall bad take, but I mean, for people that obviously love the franchise, that was gonna piss people off when they were like, what is this? You gave me only a couple seconds of Leon Kennedy or something like that. I wanted more. So I mean, I guess that's my kind of take on it. As the young buck, man, as a young buck of the group, remember that. Well, anybody watching us wait, what?
He's not that young. To be honest, I think you kind of nailed it there. I actually liked Resident Evil 1. Resident Evil 1, they tried to capture the mansion vibe. They tried to capture the vibe of Resident Evil. I think the main issue was Alice. I think the fact that they brought in this new character, is it Mila Jovovich? I don't know how you quite pronounce her name, but
Mila Jovovich.
I think that's
it. Oh my god, Mila Jovovich. Yeah, bro.
Yes, that's it. They tried to make the focus about her, and as the series went on more and more, it became a series about her, and I think that's what kind of got to fans. They wanted to see Claire, they wanted to see Chris, they wanted to see Leon, and eventually they did see them throughout the series, but they were bit part players. The thing that Netflix are promising to do here is stay faithful to the source material, and they're looking at bringing out a show that is going to be what fans have been waiting for, what they've been clamoring for all these years, and we could actually get a return to Raccoon City, to the mansion, to the original Umbrella Corporation, and it's a show that's going to be about Leon, Chris, Claire,
cool.
Rebecca. Do you know what I mean? Bring characters like that into it, things that people actually want to see. So, based on the fact that I'd say Netflix have got a good track record, look at what they've done with Castlevania, look at what they've done with The Witcher. Do you have faith? Exactly. Do you have faith that Netflix can deliver on this? Do you think they will do something that fans are going to like more than those films, or do you think we could be in for another bad time with Resident Evil? Or are you positive? What are you thinking, Lethal?
So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say like I think they are gonna do good. And the only like other one that I can think off top of my head is like The Witcher. You know, they did great with The Witcher. You know, if there are some things that are a little bit different, I think for the most part they nailed a lot of it down with like, you know, the character himself, Geralt. And I just feel like, you know, they can kind of, the cool thing about making the movie now or the TV series is that they kind of get to base it off of what didn't work, you know, with the other Resident Evil series. So I think that's the benefit of doing it now, is that they can look at what didn't work and make it work for this. So I think with all that being said, yeah, dude, I do have faith. I think it's going to come out good. I'm excited. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah. So if you move on, we'll talk about the next film, which I believe I'm waiting for you to move on.
Okay, go ahead.
It's going to be Mortal Kombat. It's going to be Mortal Kombat, and it's going to be made by HBO. Now, this is actually not that far away. I think it's coming out in the next couple of months, as far as I'm aware. So we'll be able to. It's probably going to be the first one that we talk about that we're going to actually see like the results for, and it's from HBO, and it's going to come out because of the whole situation. We'll just call it the situation. It's going to come out on HBO Max. I believe it was slated to be a cinema release, but obviously there's no cinema releases, so it's coming straight onto HBO Max. Now obviously HBO have got good production values. They're really wanting this project to succeed, this HBO Max, so I've actually got big high hopes for this one. I think this one might actually turn out pretty well. Lethal, have you seen the old Mortal Kombat movies? Did you like them? What do you think about Mortal Kombat in general? Do you think this movie's going to be good?
Yeah, so I actually did watch I watched the first, I think was there only 2 movies? If I'm not mistaken, live action. I think there was 2, right? It wasn't a third, or was there a third?
I think there was a TV series and stuff. I don't even know. I watched a thing about it, and the guy who owned Mortal Kombat like was wanting to do all sorts, make cereal and stuff with it. So I don't even know.
I'll say this: for the one that I can recall the most, because I sort of remember the second one, but I think I always come back to the first one because I remember being as a kid, I watched that one a lot, and I actually loved Mortal Kombat, like, you know, the movies, or at least the 2 that I can remember the most, because it's not like they have to go and do anything crazy. You can go with the big story, but I mean, I guess I was kind of cool with the whole like tournament idea, and then just having all the characters kind of come in and, you know, be a part of it, and, you know, take out like, it was Shao Kahn, and what was the big one, Shang Tsung. Like, I don't know, to me it can't get like, it's not like a complex story to go crazy. I mean, I think the video games go a little bit more of a deeper kind of route, and so I guess they're probably going to take the inspiration of what maybe the video games are going through, maybe more so now than when like the other ones came out back in the day. But for me, I would have had nothing critical to say besides like, I think they'll do great. You just, you know, you give me my Liu Kang, my Sub-Zero, those are my 2 favorites. You give me them, and honestly, I'm someone who's satisfied just to see them like back on the TV screen, you know, doing cool animations for like the moves and whatnot. So I guess I'm a pretty easy guy to, you know, be excited for like another Mortal Kombat film.
The thing is about now compared to then as well, again, touching on something that we spoke about before, when they made the first Mortal Kombat movie, it was a 2D fighter. That's it. That's all it was. There was no story. They were in a tournament.
True.
But since then, Mortal Kombat games have developed lore. You know, they've got stories. Right. In fact, one of the big things that reviewers praised Mortal Kombat 11 for was its story. It had a really good story for a fighting game. Do you know what I mean? It's not something that people usually point out, but it was pointed out in reviews, to the point that they actually brought out a story expansion for Mortal Kombat 11. So, I mean, it just goes to show you that those scriptwriters can now look at something and go, well, look, these characters have got a rich history. We can maybe use some of that to make our film more exciting. And I think this one could actually be good. I think this is like looking at another potential good one. So far we've done a couple, and I'd say each one of them we both agree there's a good chance that these could be decent movies. So we'll move on now and we'll talk about the next one, which is going to be The Last of Us. Now, unlike the ones we've spoke about before, this one is going to be a TV series, and it's being developed by the same people who made the awesome Chernobyl. I don't know if you've seen Chernobyl, but Chernobyl was...
I've heard.
I mean, it was grim. Do you know what I mean? But it was awesome. It was really, really good, really well made, high production values, and it's been made by the same team, and it's also been made by HBO. And we all know that HBO have got a rich history with TV shows like True Blood. They've got obviously the Game of Thrones.
I was going to say, Jesus, please say Game of Thrones, and don't forget that one.
Yeah, let's not talk about the ending of that one, though. Do you know what I mean? We'll just leave that as it is. Unless I'm mistaken, HBO done things like The Sopranos and that as well. So obviously, HBO know how to knock it out the park, and they've picked up The Last of Us. And again, this is another one that's got a good story already. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, for me, they could just make the game into a TV show. They don't need to. They don't need to go off in tangents. They don't need to make these little filler stories. They could just take the story of Joel and Ellie, and they could make a TV show out of it. As a big PlayStation fan, Lethal, I'm guessing this is one that's up there for you, that you're probably looking forward to quite a bit.
Oh my goodness, 100%, dude. Like you just said, they literally, I mean, just like, you know, get into a room with like Neil Druckmann, like that's it. Like you can, they have like, they don't really have, I feel like the story was so good for the game, they don't really need to try to think of something else. Like they can, you know, if they want to kind of introduce some like other characters that they didn't really introduce in the game, they could kind of do that for like side characters, but they shouldn't for this. Like the game story is so good, it will translate just as good on HBO, because even with the HBO writers, like we know HBO is notorious for all what you mentioned, like some of the best work in like the industry, right? Like they're just known for doing such great work. Like I just feel like they don't have much to really add to it, but knowing HBO, maybe they'll want to do something a little bit different here and there, but they have as people call it, you know, a masterpiece. You know, this game is already the story and you know, Last of Us and Last of Us 2, like it's really good. Like they don't have much to do, but I think like this should be a really good like knockout. And it's you know, obviously we have some, you know, there's some criticism, maybe a little bit, right, for the second game, who knows. You know, that's like I bring it up because maybe they would change how that's done. Like I have questions on how maybe they might alter some things, maybe, like who knows. Like that would be something interesting to think about, if they take the idea of like changing certain things and how we saw it in a game and change it, but how it happens in the actual like adaptation for it. But no, I mean, just back to your main point, like dude, they don't have much to do. This is already a stellar story. Like this game is known for its, you know, daring and risky and incredible story. So no, I mean, for that much, yeah, that's it, man.
The thing about it as well, that's I personally think could be quite good, is you know that they could go back, they could do a flashback episode about how the virus first came out.
That'd be cool.
They could do an episode on the scientists that were examining it and stuff like that. This is something that I think could have more than one series before they even get to even looking at The Last of Us 2. I don't know how well that TV series would be taken upon by the public, because obviously we know people aren't that keen on that story, but that's for another video entirely. So like myself, Lethal, I think that you've got high hopes for this one, and I do actually think this one, the whole dystopian future and stuff like that, it goes down really well. I mean, it could have Walking Dead vibes. It could be really good.
That's the biggest,
I think. So I think I'm catching the whatever this is myself. Moving on to the next one.
Don't say that.
And it's Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, Sonic was a surprise for me. I'll be honest. The first Sonic movie was a total surprise.
Oh my god!
After we've seen the leaked character design,
that's what I was gonna say.
Pause! What is that?
Part of me still thinks that was a marketing ploy, because I don't see how you could be so far off base with what the character design is and then come back and absolutely nail it. It was fantastic. Jim Carrey was fantastic. The story, while Sonic itself has got a story, it's a bit of a wee blue hedgehog that likes to save animals from inside robots, you know what I mean? They took what is a sort of a bare bones story and they made a good comedy film out of it, in my opinion. I know you're a fan of Sonic, so what's your thoughts for Sonic 2, which is obviously going to focus on Tails and Robotnik getting back to the real world? Dude, so what's your thoughts?
You tied it in right there for me. Like that, I mean, I loved the movie. I thought it was great. There wasn't anything that I didn't really like about it. I love Sonic himself. I mean, like you said, the whole how they teased us with that original, you know, concept of Sonic or whatever, and they redid it, thank God. But I love the way Sonic ended up turning out, and I thought the story was great. Everything of his abilities, I thought they captured really well in the movie. I thought it was great. But for me, the big thing was like it was seeing Tails. You know, it was seeing Robotnik at the very end and being like, oh, we're about to get the Robotnik that we know. So leading into like Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I'm excited for it. And I think one of my biggest things was like, man, I can't wait, because I can understand that the first film wanted to just be more about like just talking about Sonic and like just getting the people interested in Sonic and learning about him for the new generations that don't know who he is. So the second one, and I'm glad they touched upon it just a little bit at the very ending of the first one, but they introduced Tails, and I'm like, yes, like bring in Tails, bring in Knuckles, bring in Amy, bring in, like I want to see more of the Sonic cast. So that's the thing I'm looking forward to, is seeing the rest of the members for the second one come in. But if they do it like how they did the first one, dude, it'll be great, honestly.
Yeah, I agree, and it's a good thing as well. I mean, it's suitable for kids. It's good for adults.
Yeah.
I just think Sonic knocked it out of the park.
Yep.
I'd actually go as far to say that I think Sonic is probably one of the most successful adaptations and possibly ever up to now. Obviously,
It's
we've got
up
some
there.
high hopes.
It goes up there though. So yeah.
Definitely. So the next one we're going to talk about, pardon me, is Mario. Now, Mario is supposedly, I don't really know what state we're at just now, but it's being developed by the same company that makes Despicable Me, which is Illumination, and they do good work. Their animations is up there. It's really, really good. And it looks like we could finally be getting a movie that is basically worthy of Mario. I think bringing Mario into the real world's a mistake.
I agree.
Doing it animated, the colourful Mushroom Kingdom, stuff like that, I think is just perfect for Mario. I mean, I don't really know much more to say about this one. I think this one is printing money, in my opinion. I mean, they just need to look at Sonic and go, okay, people are going to lap up Mario told well. What's your thoughts on this one? Do you agree with me? Is it going to break box office records and stuff like that? I think this is going to be humongous. What's your thoughts?
I agree, and the fact that like there's not really much to add to it because we don't know. I mean, they've had their older Sonic ideas that they've done for films and whatnot, but I think it's smart to go more of like that animated route for this because this is the one where you can really use to like get like I said, the next generation of kids involved. I mean, this is how you bring more people over, more of the kids over to Nintendo property and get them to learn what is Nintendo and what is Mario, what is all of what is Nintendo. So for me, that's like the biggest thing for this. This is the biggest opportunity to just get the next generation of kids like involved and whatnot. And I think it's smart to go the animated route. I don't think we want to see any more live adaptations. I think the animated works good with this, and like you said, if they really just copy off of what they did with Sonic, make this more of a humorous kind of film, animated film, I think that's the way to go. Make it funny, make it comedic, give us laughing points, make sure you bring in Luigi. At least I hope they do. Who knows? Maybe they'll do a thing where they make it like, he's in the city or something like that. I have no idea. But I hope that they go ahead and at least incorporate like Luigi with it, bring in like, Bowser. You gotta have at least like Bowser as like the enemy, you know what I mean, for the first film, at least to me. So if they have that stuff, dude, I'm cool. I'm with it. I'm down.
Yeah, they should make it like a romantic comedy or something like that, where Mario's trying to get
I mean, yeah, go for it. Why not? We don't have much to work off, so try some things, Nintendo.
And Luigi's getting jealous because Daisy's not interested and stuff like that. And while Luigi's the guy that you're rooting to not be with her and stuff like that.
Guys, there's the plot. There you go. Hayzink, just kidding. Give it to you, Nintendo. There you go. You're welcome. Hit us up.
Yeah, that would be funny. So the next one we're going to talk about, after talking about the comedic chops of Mario and how funny that could be, let's go darker. Let's talk about Five Nights at Freddy. Now, actually, Five Nights at Freddy's get quite a bit of lore to it as well. If you read some of the fan theories and what is it they call them? Creepypastas and stuff like that are around it. And it's robots wearing skin suits and all this kind of stuff. I mean, for a game that's all about jump scares, there's a lot going on. And the company that's making this, Blumhouse, are known for kind of tickling the fear buttons here. They like to kind of come at you and try and scare you. It could be the perfect combination, actually. To be honest, this is one I'm like, ooh, this could go either way. But what do you think? I mean, they kind of have done this already. You might not know this, but there's a show that used to be on called The Banana Splits. It's an old show, but basically they brought out a Banana Splits movie, and if you look at the synopsis and if you read it, it's Five Nights at Freddy. It's all about these animatronic versions of the Banana Splits that start murdering people and stuff. And I read the synopsis, and I'm like, this is Five Nights at Freddy. I mean, it already exists in a kind of comedy horror form, but this is going to be more all-out horror as far as I know. So. What's your thoughts? Are you ready to dive into the world at Five Nights at Freddy and be scared?
So, if I'm not mistaken, I swear Nicolas Cage, I think he was the actor. I think he just had a movie come out that incorporated like some type of, I mean, I could be totally left-winging it here, but I could have sworn I saw something where something kind of similar was just done like really recently. And I don't know if it did good or not, but I think like the idea of doing something where like, you know, the enemy or the evil villain or whatever you want to call it in an upcoming movie, whatever, of like evil animatronics, like it can be done. Because like I heard, I think if I'm not mistaken, again, I'm really going left wing here, but I heard that movie was kind of, you know, had a couple good jump scares in it. So for me, I mean, they can do the same thing, you know. I keep thinking too, they've done movies before where they've had it where like it's more of like a first person, you don't get to see the actual person. They like it's like through a film, you know what I mean? Like they've done horror movies like that, like was it like Paranormal Activity, you really see it through the eyes of the film or something like that. So I keep thinking in my head like, man, how cool would it be if they took that kind of concept and ran it with this kind of, well, ran it with the IP that is, you know, Five Nights at Freddy's. I think that'd be a really good way to sell it. They can try to keep it really original to the game, you know, where you're staying after hours at your first, what was that, your first night at your new job or something like that, or at the Pizza Kitty thing. I forget exactly what it is, but I think there's a cool different thing that they can do with this, like with the whole, you know, first person kind of view. So I think it has potential. I think it does. So I'm excited to see it. I wouldn't say that like this is like my biggest thing I'm looking forward to, but if the games did good, man, I think they can turn it into something decent with the movie. It'll be interesting, you know.
I'm actually, to be honest, a bit like you made a joke that I just wrote the script there. I'm actually quite interested in your idea. I think this would lend itself really well to that whole found footage genre. So stuff like Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch. You know, the guy's going in and the 24 hours later they've found a dead body and then they've found a camera and it's like, well, what happened here? And they watch it back. That's a great idea, Lethal. You should be a scriptwriter, mate. That's your new career.
Hit me up. Like, come on, man.
Let's come together and we'll make a movie kind of thing. But yeah, and I need to hark back to one thing you said. You did say that Nicolas Cage was in the most recent movie, so it might have been successful. Chances are it probably wasn't, because I don't think Nicolas Cage has made a successful movie in a number of years.
The last one I think I watched was, I think, Ghost Rider. That's how. Oh no, Independence
that was
Day.
that was the success.
I mean, that was like the last one. It's been a while since I've seen a movie of his.
I mean, if Independence Day is one you're classing as a Nicolas Cage movie, you've still not seen a film of his because he's not in it.
Oh man, it's been a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last top film I remember from him was like Con Air or something like that. It's been a while since Nicolas Cage has had a hat. So moving on from me and Lethal slagging off Nicolas Cage, we'll move on to the next one, which is going to be the last one that we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to talk about the big one for a lot of people.
Woo! It's showtime!
Which is Metal Gear Solid. Now, obviously, Metal Gear Solid is a huge franchise. Since Kojima's left, it's maybe not the same as it used to be. They haven't really done much with it, apart from, I think it was Metal Gear Solid Survive, I think it was called, which wasn't really a mainline Metal Gear Solid game. But this is going to be revisiting its roots. This is going to be taking the Solid Snake that you all know and love and basically recreating the first PlayStation game, I believe, into a movie format, which obviously if it works, you're then looking at a series. Do you like Metal Gear Solid? Do you like the actors attached to this? What's your thoughts?
So Oscar Isaac, that's going to be phenomenal, I think, for Snake. I think he's a great actor. In terms of the Metal Gear Solid, like, you know, the whole franchise and series, I played the first one. Again, it's one of those where I think I hopped in after like the next. I mean, I know I played a little bit of the second one. Maybe I left there and came back later, I think, to like the fourth one or something like that. I know I missed a couple because I think they started releasing some of them as like exclusive to like Nintendo at one point. Didn't they do like Sneak Eater that first came out on Nintendo or something like that? I don't know, but I know I missed a couple. So when it comes to the story, for me, it's all over the place. But I know it's a very deep and kind of convoluted, complex kind of story. You know, it's not a simple story. So for me, I'm excited because if you're gonna make a film adaptation of this is great for someone like me who's kind of gotten lost, you know, in the video games and maybe doesn't have the time to play the video games. So this is your time to bring to light this. I know it's an amazing story. People love the story of Metal Gear. So I know if they do it right, this will be really good. Again, not for just, you know, for it being a video game adaptation, but also really taking the time to like delve into the story and explain it, because like we mentioned, I think with Last of Us, like the Metal Gear Solid, there's a lot they can pick apart from this. They can probably do spin-offs. Like there's so many great characters that there's just so much they can really do here, and I really want them to take the time on this one, because this is one of those where it's like, don't rush it, because you have a big masterpiece on your hand here where you can really take the time to dig deep and pull out a bunch of great content, great story, and turn it into like different movies and, you know, different projects and whatnot. So yeah, I know that much.
Well, I mean, the game you were talking about is Twin Snakes. It was a remake.
Yeah, maybe it was that one.
Twin Snakes, it's a remake of the first PlayStation game that was remade exclusively for GameCube. That game's actually really hard to come by now, and it's quite expensive. It's one of those titles. But yeah, I mean, Metal Gear's huge. It's absolutely huge, and it's another one that I think they've got a lot of story there. They've probably got too much story that they can pull from, so they can pick and choose the bits that they want, and they can craft something quite decent out of this. But I think this is going to be a summer blockbuster type movie, and I think it could do pretty well. So guys, basically that's a more positive spin on things. The last video we did, we were talking about how movies up to now from based on games haven't been so hot, and I think just looking at this kind of preview of things that are coming up maybe in the next year to 3 years, it's kind of showing you that the direction's kind of changing. I think a lot of that's to do with Sonic. I think some of it might even be to do with The Witcher, the fact that they're adapting The Last of Us into a TV show. So yeah, I mean, I think things are looking bright in the future for games that are getting adapted into movies. Lethal, is there anything you want to say on the subject before we finish up?
I mean, not much. I mean, I'm looking forward to a lot of these upcoming movies that are coming out soon. I know for me, my biggest one probably is like Uncharted. I mean, I'm again big PlayStation guy, so I'm really excited to see what they do with that. But even us talking about like the Metal Gear Solid and whatnot, I'm excited because for someone like myself, if I don't understand something like in a book or a game, I look forward to these like movie adaptations because this is one of those where like I really want to make sure it stays very close to the source material and really tells that story. Because like I said, like there's times where I just don't really understand it in a game, and if you can show it to me in a movie, it usually comes out better for me. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who may be more of like a visual kind of guy and just want to watch it and then have a narration kind of explain it, or just characters convey the story. So I'm excited, dude. There's just a lot of good stuff coming out soon. A lot of good stuff coming out.
I love the way that you're outing yourself here, Lethal. You were the type of guy at school that would get a book to read and you'd have to do a report on it, and you'd go away and watch the movie, wouldn't you? That's what you would do.
I was 100% that guy, man. I was like, I don't understand this. Let's look for someone who can explain it to me. Where are the spark notes? Where's the quick summary, plot synopsis? But no, I was 100% that guy. I was like, I'm just gonna watch the movie. Oh,
that's
man.
So funny. Well, I think for me, the one I'm probably most looking forward to is The Last of Us, actually, because I just feel that it's HBO, and I just think this could be their next big hit. They're looking for that next big hit, and it'd be interesting if that comes from a game property. So I'm interested to see where they go with that. Apart from that, after speaking to you, I wasn't at all coming into this video, but I now want to see what they're going to do with Five Nights at Freddy. It's like, yeah, that could be
dude,
decent.
I'm telling you, first person, like if you mimic the game, I think it's perfect with that aspect of doing a first, because they've done some first person horror stuff. I can't think of any top of my head, but I know they've done it. So, or Paranormal Activity was a great example of them doing it that really scared me. I can't see the guy, but I can see what he's saying, and something like that where it's more jump scary and just things coming at you real quick. And I think that would just do so good in that first person kind of style format. So I'm just saying, if they listen to me, I'd like to get credit. That's all.
There's another one for the future. Bring out PT the movie. We'll take that one as well, because that's another one that could work. No, but that's basically it, guys. We just wanted to really talk about things that are coming up in the future. Maybe build a little bit of hype. See if you can get a bit excited about these projects. If you're looking forward to any of these things that we've discussed, let us know down below. If you feel that we've missed out anything, because I know that Sony have got 7 other projects in the works, but we don't know what they are, so we don't really want to spend a lot of time talking about stuff we don't know anything about. But let us know down below. What do you think you'd like to see adapted into a movie? What would work? What do you think's not going to work about what we spoke about? But for this episode, I'm Hayzink, that's Lethal, and we'll catch you on the next 5-9 video. Bye.
Peace.